Breaking news, according to sources, Ilia Topuria will be fighting at UFC 317, and he set the MMA world on fire yesterday because we have been in the dark and not in the light, obviously, about what's going to go down at UFC 317 for International Fight Week. We're, 65 days out, 66 days out, and we have no idea who's the main event, who's the co-main event. And this is really unprecedented from the UFC to not release this information until the very last second. But Topuria has come out and tweeted the camp has begun. So he is in training camp right now to fight at UFC 317. Now, the real question is, who is it going to be? Because a source close to Ilia also tweeted out, his name is Alvaro Colmenero, who's a very credible source, according to other people, that when it comes to Ilia Topuria news, he's part of the Topuria camp. He said, update, there will be no interim lightweight belt. It will be undisputed or vacant. There are no other options. Now, this is very interesting because this tells me that the UFC fully plans to strip Islam Makhachev if he decides to move up to 170 pounds and face Jack Della Maddalena. They're not going to let him sit on the belt, and it looks like they're pulling the belt from him if he decides to go up, because from what I understand, the UFC promised Ilia Topuria undisputed title shot if he were to vacate his featherweight belt and go up to lightweight. And now that he's done that, he is in training camp to fight for the vacant or non-vacant lightweight belt, pending on who has the belt. And it looks like if Islam decides to go up to fight Jack Della Maddalena, if he beats Belal Muhammad, then it will be Ilia versus someone for the vacant belt. Now, who? I think there are three options. It could be Ilia versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant belt. It could be Ilia versus Justin Gaethje for the vacant belt. Or it could be Ilia versus Arman Tsarukyan for the vacant belt. Now, in my opinion, I think the least likely option is Arman Tsarukyan. And the reason that is because I don't think Ilia does not want to fight Arman Tsarukyan because they're both technically from Georgia. And you know how these fighters are weird. If fighters are from the same area, they don't want to fight each other. It's this really weird thing. Can you imagine if two USA fighters didn't want to fight each other? That'd be so soy. But either way, yeah. I don't think Ilia has any interest in fighting Arman. It's obviously, if it's going to be a vacant title and it's not Islam, then I believe that it will be Ilia versus Charles Oliveira, most likely. I don't think they'll do Ilia Gaethje. I don't think Ilia wants to fight Gaethje. I think Charles is a much bigger fight. And yeah, man, this is obviously breaking news because we have been in the dark. Nothing's confirmed yet. Nothing's on paper, but Ilia Topuria himself tweeting out and saying that his camp has begun is very telling on what's going on behind the scenes. Now, maybe this is Topuria playing chess and trying to get the Makhachev camp to come out, but listen, if the UFC fumbles this, then they just continuously drop the bag, fumble the bag over and over, because they have an opportunity to put the biggest fight on right now, Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. It literally is the biggest fight right now. Obviously, Makhachev and the Habib camp are waiting to see if JDM beats Belal Muhammad, then Makhachev would go up to fight Belal Muhammad. I mean, JDM. But doesn't anyone besides myself just not care about Islam going up to 170? 170 just has so much going on with Buckley, Usman, Shavkat, JDM, Gary, Protest. There's already so many people at the top of welterweight. We do not need Islam Makhachev going up there and clogging up things even more. And I don't really care to see it. Islam's been insanely good at lightweight. I think he's the best lightweight in the world. Why go up to welterweight and face JDM? There's no hype behind that fight. Like, is that a hot take to say that I couldn't care less about Islam Makhachev versus JDM? Like, I don't know. And let's be real. If Belal Muhammad wins, which I do think he's favored, and he will beat Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315, then Islam Makhachev will be backed into a corner. Face Ilia Topuria or vacate your title, because I don't think Islam Makhachev has any interest in fighting a guy like Belal Muhammad, because Habib's going to say that we respect Belal, he's part of the camp. Islam's not going to fight Belal, like we don't fight brothers and all this stuff. So Belal's already said that he's not going to fight Islam Makhachev. He would rather vacate the title. So I don't think we're going to see Islam versus Belal. So if Belal secures the victory against Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315, then that's going to put Islam in a really interesting situation, because it's clear that, according to Topuria, the UFC's promised him a title shot if he vacates his featherweight belt and were to move up to lightweight. He gets an immediate title shot. And I don't know why, but I believe him. I do believe the UFC told him that. I don't think he would lie about that. I know Ilia blows smoke up our asses a lot, but listen, man, Islam versus Topuria is the biggest fight right now. For all the fans saying anything else, stop coping, man. The only other thing you could put over it is Islam Arman. But Arman fumbled the bag. He pulled out a day before the fight. Topuria is ready to go, man. He has no losses. Pound for pound number 3. Knocked out Volk and Max back to back. What else is there to see? outside of Ilia versus Islam. Yes, Ilia versus Arman. No one wants to see Ilia versus Gaethje, and Islam Gaethje, and no one wants to see Islam Charles too. Right now, we want to see Islam versus Ilia Topuria. So like I said, if Belal Muhammad happens to defeat JDM at UFC 315, which he's favored to do, and he has the style to do, then I could see a world where Islam's backed into a corner and he has to take that Ilia Topuria fight because he has the lightweight belt. The UFC wants to make the fight. It's a massive fight. And as this reporter saying, Alvaro, he says there will be no interim lightweight belt. It will be undisputed or vacant. So he's basically saying either Ilia's fighting Islam for the belt or Islam's going to vacate. It's going to be Ilia versus someone else for the belt. I thought that was very telling and very interesting. Another thing he had to say about the situation, I think there was something else he had to say. Well, no, he just said that Ilia's fighting International Fight Week, he's told. So, yeah. And Ilia Topuria on his official Twitter account, as you can see here, he confirmed it. His camp has begun. 3.2 million views. So, he's got a big following. 356,000 followers on Twitter. And listen, Ilia's a star, man. People saying he's not a star. Look at his views on JRE. He has some of the most views of any MMA fighter to ever go on JRE. This guy has millions of Instagram followers. This guy's a star in Spain, man. He's a big name. Him versus Islam will do serious numbers, and this is the last hope for International Fight Week. Jon Jones is not stepping up and fighting at International Fight Week. In fact, I have something to talk about that at the end of this video, but Ilia versus Islam is the fight we want to see. Listen, there's been so many other double champions in the UFC that have gotten title shots off of doing less as double champion. Guys like Henry Cejudo, arguably even Israel Adesanya for his double champ status, Conor McGregor. But why is it an issue whenever Ilia Topuria knocks out Max Holloway and Volkanovski back-to-back and then says he doesn't want to do the weight cut anymore and wants to move up? What's wrong with him getting an immediate title shot? Like, I don't get it, man. I mean, Islam wants to go up to welterweight and get an immediate title shot. Why does he get to do it, but Ilia doesn't? And Ilia even vacated his title. He had the respect enough for the division to allow Volk to come back and win the belt back and not hold up the division. And you know what? I respect him for that, because if there's something that pisses me off, it's whenever a fighter wants to go for double champ status and they want to stall two divisions, a.k.a. Conor McGregor. If Ilia Topuria is defended his featherweight belt one time and says the weight cut's too tough, I don't want to do it anymore, and he wants to go up to lightweight and get a title shot, and he's undefeated, pound for pound number 3, and he's a big star, why wouldn't the UFC want to put on that fight? No one gives a shit about Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev. No one gives a shit about Islam Makhachev versus JDM. No one gives a shit about Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2, or Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. That's the only other fight I would say has merit to it. But if you ask most fans, 80% of fans, I would say, what they want to see, besides the naysayers that are just Ilia haters, they want to see Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. And I surely do hope that Belal Muhammad defeats JDM at UFC 315. Not because I care about Belal Muhammad winning. Shout out to JDM. I would not be mad if he got it done. But more so that if Belal Muhammad is to pull it off and beat JDM, then that's going to back Islam into a corner. He's going to have to take the Topuria fight. There's no more run. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to duck. It's either going to be Topuria or Arman Tsarukyan. And now that Ilia's saying his camp's begun and his media source inside his camp is saying that it's going to be for undisputed or vacant, listen, Islam has no choice. You know how bad of a legacy Islam's going to leave if he says, I'm not fighting Topuria, and he vacates the belt? And it's Topuria for a vacant belt? That would be so soy if Belal wins and he did that. But if Belal wins, Islam's backed into a corner. He has to take the Topuria fight. And listen, man, by no means am I saying Ilia Topuria is going to go out there and smoke Islam, but it's an amazing fight. Islam Makhachev is one of the most well-rounded fighters we've ever seen in the history of the sport. This guy's finished 8 of his last 9 opponents. Ilia Topuria has some of the best boxing we've ever seen in the sport. We also need to see where his grappling level is. Islam is going to test his grappling. He's going to test Islam's chin if he lands. It's a great fight. Obviously, I don't know who to favor. I've been leaning towards Islam by submission or Islam by dominant decision. But listen, man, Topuria talks the talk and he walks the walk. He said he was going to be the first guy to KO Holloway. He did it. He said he was going to finish Volkanovski. He did it, man. This guy's done nothing but do everything he's going to say. And for me to doubt him would just be a disservice to everything he's done in the UFC. So I truly do believe that we're going to get Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev for International Fight Week. And that's me booking that Belal is going to beat JDM. Listen, man, I like JDM, but he was getting handled by old man Burns in the beginning of that fight before he found the finish in the 3rd round. I really do think Belal is just going to 49-46 decision him, just with great wrestling, great pressure boxing, and he's just going to frustrate JDM, and JDM's never going to get out of first gear because Belal's pressure's on another level. So get your hype ready, boys. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev for International Fight Week. I can 100% see this happening. Obviously, It's all up in the air. Islam's waiting for the outcome of UFC 315. And if I'm Islam, I'm getting in camp right now, man. Whether I'm fighting JDM or, well, no, I guess if JDM wins, he would have more time. But if Islam Makhachev doesn't get in camp and he does a short camp for Topuria, that might be a mistake. You don't want to overlook a guy like Topuria. This guy's extremely dangerous. I'm not saying that he would beat Islam, but he has a good shot, man. Volkanovski rocked Islam in that fight, and Volkanovski's not known for his power. If Ilia connects on Islam's chin clean, he will put him down. That's what I will say. But let's get on to some other news that also got announced. Insider: Jon Jones shelved for 6 months. Tom Aspinall set to defend interim heavyweight title again. Now, I've been seeing this coming from a mile away. If you guys haven't heard, Jon Jones is very close, if he hasn't already, to becoming the longest reigning heavyweight champ in the UFC's history. And yeah, I think once he does that, he's looking to vacate the belt. Jon Jones apparently shelved for 6 months. And Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane is being talked about for an interim title for UFC 317. I could see a world where we have Ilia versus Islam main event and Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane co-main event for the interim. And let me just say, Tom Aspinall is going to blow through Ciryl Gane like nothing. And it's going to make Jon Jones tuck his tail in between his legs even harder. But yeah, man, I'm not surprised. I don't think Jon Jones has any interest in fighting Tom Aspinall, and I don't think he's going to fight Tom Aspinall. I think he's holding on to the clout of being heavyweight champion for as long as he can. He's just holding the cards. Jon Jones is a narcissist. He loves whenever people talk about him. He loves his name in the news. So him ducking Tom Aspinall and holding the division up, everybody's talking about him. He just loves it. And yeah, man, Tom Aspinall is going to have to defend that interim title for a second time. A two-time defending interim champion. It literally just makes Jon Jones look worse. I love it. Tom Aspinall might as well say he's a two-time undisputed champion at this point, because he's been a way better champion than Jon Jones ever has as heavyweight. I mean, Jon Jones is the biggest paper champ at heavyweight we've ever seen. I mean, Junior Dos Santos was less of a paper champ than Jon Jones. At least he fought his up-and-coming contenders. But nonetheless, it looks like behind the scenes, an insider has confirmed that they're looking to do Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall for UFC 317. And finally, man, because Ciryl Gane for a long time was ducking Tom Aspinall, and then the second Tom Aspinall got the interim belt, Ciryl Gane was like, oh, I'll fight Tom Aspinall. Ciryl Gane is too worried about playing FIFA and not taking his career seriously, and I really do think Tom Aspinall is going to send him to another dimension. Probably end up submitting Ciryl Gane, because as we saw against Volkov, his grappling offense got a little bit better, but his defense hasn't improved at all. He still can easily be taken down, and yeah, this is interesting. And let me just say, if we get Ilia Islam and then we get Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall at International Fight Week, honestly, that's a pretty good card. Ilia Islam itself is amazing. If they stack the undercard, this has potential to do like 800 to 1 million buys, because Ilia versus Islam is probably the second biggest fight in the entire UFC you can put on outside of Aspinall versus Jones. But yeah, I am very excited. I've been waiting for my boy Tom Aspinall to return for a long time. I don't think he's fought since June of last year or July of last year. So it's been 9 months since he's last fought. So seeing him fight nearly a year later at International Fight Week, I'm excited for it. Obviously, none of this is confirmed yet. We don't know who Topuria is fighting. We don't know if the Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane fight is going to be official. This is all insider and leaks that we're seeing. But listen, man, it's very interesting, and I'm very hyped because I've been very frustrated. Me and a lot of the other MMA fans have been very frustrated with International Fight Week and what's going to go down and what's going to happen. We're like, dude, what is the UFC doing? We're 2 months out from the event, and we don't have a main event. We don't have a co-main event. And it's because Jon Jones and Islam Makhachev are making a mockery of the sport. Islam knows that Ilia Topuria is the biggest fight at lightweight, but yet he doesn't want the fight because Ilia hasn't earned it. So he'd rather fight Gaethje, who's literally a walk in the park. If Islam fights Gaethje, that's a free win. That's stat padding, bro. Like, Gaethje literally does nothing to Islam. Look what Islam just did to Moicano. And Moicano would steamroll Gaethje as well. So I don't want to see it, man. No one wants to see Gaethje versus Islam. Literally, like 1% of fans want to see that. 80% of fans want to see Islam versus Topuria. The other 19% want to see Islam versus Arman, which is fine. If you do Islam Arman, I wouldn't be mad. But with Ilia saying he's in camp, it's either going to be Ilia versus Islam or it's going to be Ilia versus someone for the vacant title. And I'm very interested to see who it's going to be. And then, like they also talked about, Jon Jones is sitting out on the shelf for 6 months. Tom Aspinall will defend that interim title at 317 for the second time. Not confirmed, but I did see this coming, and I think the UFC is going to announce this soon. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is Tom Aspinall going to blow the roof off and destroy Ciryl Gane in the first round? And is Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev going to happen at UFC 317 International Fight Week? I don't know. I'm hoping. I think there's a good chance, and hopefully we get an announcement soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm out, guys. Deuces.